Okay, Brian, I may have just emailed you that document. Possibly it worked. Okay. Apologies for that mix-up. Too many files on my computer with similar names, I guess. All right. I'm going to call to order our tree committee meeting if Brian wants to go ahead and read the COVID statement.
Yep. So to reduce the likelihood of the spread of COVID-19, the meeting of the tree committee, Leawood Tree Committee, is being conducted remotely using the Zoom media format, and some of the members of the Leawood Tree Committee may appear remotely. Public comments will not be accepted. City Hall is closed to the public during this meeting. However, the meeting will be live streamed on YouTube, and the public can access the live stream by clicking on www.leawood.org. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Brian. Okay. So under old business, I had on the agenda that is maybe inaccurate in front of you, approval of minutes from December 2020 meeting. And Brian reminded me today that he was so on top of it. He got those done back in December. We don't always do that quickly. He made a typo change that somebody had given him, and we have already sent those to City Council for their perusal. So that old business can be removed from the agenda. We don't need to worry about that. So I apologize for that. I did want to ask for an update on the Arbor Day poster contest. Debbie told me she couldn't be here today, but she had spoken with Tad, so he was going to be able to. Am I correct in that?
That's right.
Very good.
You recall last year, 2 schools participated in it, and a number of us from this committee judged the posters, and the winning poster for our district came from one of those 2 schools. Well, this year with the virus and all that's going on in the school system, apparently there's not interest in doing it this year. What we had planned to do, if the schools were interested, was just ask them to pick the 3 top posters in each school, and then see if we couldn't judge them by means of Zoom. But that's all conjecture now, because the schools, Debbie contacted both the schools that had participated before, and I'm not sure whether she contacted other schools or not. But part of it is the logistics of getting the right size and the right type of paper to the kids at home. And
Right.
there'll be some at home and some not at home and so forth. So the poster contest will be for another day.
Just throwing this out there, trying to think outside the box as we're doing with so many of our programs right now. And maybe you don't have the answer to this, but we can just throw it back to Debbie and see. Is this something that absolutely must be done through the school? And the reason I ask that is, we have a lot of kids that are at home being schooled remotely or in a hybrid setting. If they were to read about the poster contest on our Parks and Rec newsletter, for example, could a child who is possibly motivated make a poster that they could submit, or do we not even want to go down that road?
Well, there's a deadline for submitting the posters, and it comes fairly promptly after you judge the posters. And I forget what it is. I could probably look it up, and it'd have to disappear for a little while and come back. But I'm thinking the logistics would be rather difficult. And there's rather specific rules about judging the posters.
Yes.
One you'll recall is that the motto or the theme for each year must be prominently displayed on the poster.
Mm-hmm.
And getting that word across to every mother and father of a child who wants to participate might be a daunting task.
Right. Okay, I agree. I know that the Parks and Rec and the Arts Council are doing great social media blasts and offering winter break art kits and other little stay-at-home activities for folks, which is the only reason this popped into my head. But I am comfortable, unless anybody else on the committee has other suggestions or other input, I'm comfortable leaving this for another day.
Do we know what other participants are doing this year?
Other regions or
Other
what?
regions?
I don't know. I don't know.
I suspect it's a common problem.
That's what I would think.
I could call Kim Bomberger. She's the one in charge of the
That's what I was thinking
program,
about.
and email you and tell you what she tells me about what's going on around the state.
Okay.
I can do that tomorrow.
Right.
I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay. If I was just thinking that if we put the parameters of, what people needed to include, how big it needed to be, and if we had a half a dozen kids from around the city participate, it would be something, which would be better than nothing. But it's entirely, I don't want to say put 10 hours of work into this if we don't think if Kim doesn't think it would be.
There's a curriculum that goes with the posters.
Yeah, that's the part.
That's part of it, I think.
Yeah, that's where we lose it right there. It's not just a poster. They're
Not
supposed to
just a poster.
curriculum post. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you for that. Anybody have any questions on that before we move on? And chalk it up to another COVID casualty. All right. I had 2 items in my agenda that maybe you didn't get under new business, and they were electing a new chair and vice chair and talking about some Shawnee Mission students' goal to plant hundreds of trees. So that's what I had under new business. So first off, it occurred to me as I was putting together the agenda last night that I've been the chair for far longer than I had anticipated. Time has flown, and I know I was following the request of the mayor to get this kicked off and be the chair for the first chunk of time, but I wanted to make the offer to anybody else on the committee that might want to take over as chair or vice chair. We can certainly, I guess by show of a vote, we could just promote our vice chair to chair, but he might have a say in that if he wants to do that or not. But I think I also included this in the email as something you might want to think about. Does anybody have any thoughts on this? Any hope, aspirations for leadership in this opportunity?
Silence.
I'm the golden silence. I'm supposed to wait for 5 seconds before I say anything.
I think inertia is a great force, and I think everybody's probably pretty happy with the status quo.
Well, that's one way of putting it. We could. Well, I will invite you to think on this a little bit longer, and if you have any interest in chairing this committee or being the vice chair or moving things around a bit, I am certainly happy to share the seat and give somebody the opportunity to guide this committee such that it is so. But until that time, I will be happy to stay in this role. But there is certainly the possibility that at some point in time, the mayor will ask me to be on a different committee. So the city council people, we kind of rotate through committees every year or two. We get new assignments at the pleasure of the mayor. So that absolutely could happen one of these days, but we won't worry too much about that now. Feel free to email me if you have thoughts on that and if you're so motivated. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about under new business is, and I tried to copy and paste the article in with my email, so I do hope you've had a chance to see that. according to the Shawnee Mission Post, which is a great little local news source, I must give them a little plug because I wouldn't know about this program were it not for them. There are some Shawnee Mission school districts, students who are asking for donations to plant hundreds of trees around Johnson County. Were any of you familiar with this before I brought it to your attention?
Yes, that is who we are going to partner with to do our Arbor Day planting this year.
Excellent. I love how
So-
you're outside, or at least you have a fake screen that makes it look like you're outside.
No, this is my backyard. I'm outside.
I wish I was outside. I'm jealous. That's great. I had a feeling, Dustin, that that was the case, that they had somehow reached out to you before they got this exposure in the Shawnee Mission Post, but I wasn't 100% certain that those were the same coordinated efforts. So Chuck Sipple on the Sustainability Advisory Board asked me to reach out to all of you to see if we wanted to somehow get involved in this effort, you know, because we're a tree committee and all of that. And so I want to invite you to think about, if you haven't read the article, please read it. I think it was in the email I sent you. If you have questions, please let me know. Dustin may be able to answer them as well. But I invite all of you to think about how you might get involved in this in some way, shape, or form. They're looking for volunteers. They're looking for money. And it's going to take a lot of people to do this. Dustin, remind me, please. Well, and this can double up into your update. But how did they reach out to you, and how did you get involved with this?
So they reached out to us via email, just asking if we had any available parkland to plant trees on as part of their program. And we just said yes and asked them if it would be all right if we could double it up as our Arbor Day event, because it is coinciding closely with Arbor Day. It'll probably be either the 3rd or 4th week in April when they come out to help plant trees. They're trying to do multiple cities and a lot of trees, so they probably won't be able to do it all in one day on Arbor Day. I have to imagine it's going to be spread out for them to accomplish their goal. I think they're trying to plant quite a few trees. We worked with them on a site south of 119th Street in Tomahawk Park, and I actually have a map of the trees, what we want and where we want them planted. I can bring it up on my screen if you guys are interested.
Oh, excellent.
Great.
What kind of trees are they planting?
That's a good question.
Just give me a second.
Yeah.
I hope this works. And because I'm trying to figure out if I can make you the host, Dustin. if
Well,
need
I
to.
emailed that to you, Brian.
Oh, you did?
A picture of the map.
Hey, I can make you. I figured it out. I'll make you the host.
Will I be able
There
to
you go.
share photos?
Uh-huh.
Yes, you should be able to. If you go underneath, goodness,
Okay.
I think it's more. And if you go into meetings, wait a minute. No, if you go into share screen, you should have a photos icon up top. If you want to look at that, there's several other options though, it looks like.
Now, who is doing this?
I understand it to be Shawnee Mission School District high school students. I do not remember if they're from just one school or if they're from a couple schools. Oh, and here's his screen.
Good job. There you go.
Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So this is just a screenshot of where we used our tree inventory software to actually plot planting sites. So Chase is the kind of the guy who has spearheaded reaching out to us and working with us on what they have available. Most of the trees that they're going to purchase are from Forest Keeling Nursery in Missouri. So we had to work with them to find a site that was suitable for the trees they have available. And this site in Tomahawk Park, just south of 119th Street, didn't have a lot of trees along this trail system. So we thought this would be a suitable place for them to plant. Most of these trees will be in 15-gallon containers, which means they're not going to be very big. They might be maybe between a 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch diameter, maybe at the base, depending on the species, maybe 4 to 5 feet tall. So we will have to stake them all and keep a close eye on them because that area can flood. But these trees that we selected they'll live if they get flooded temporarily. The water usually recedes in that area pretty quickly. But like I said, I think where we can help as a committee is maybe help try and raise money for their efforts. These trees are fairly expensive. They're not seedling trees. And I think there's actually 3 more that we're going to try and plant that aren't in this after Chase and I talked. I think we're going to try and put 3 more northern Catalpa out along that creek.
And are they committed just to the one tree supplier, or?
I'm not 100% on that, Bruce. I'm not.
Here's the thing that I don't know if this will match in or not, but one of the things I was going to bring up to the committee is our HOA, Leawood Homes Association. We have a lot of locations on our streets that people have taken down trees and they haven't replaced them. And so we've got a lot of bare spots relative to the street tree ordinance. And we've initiated a program, we've increased our dues to basically fill in those gaps over the next couple of years. And that's going to start in the spring. And the original intent, or the intent still is, I guess, is we'd be going through either Family Tree Nursery or Suburban and, have them plant trees for us like they normally do. Whether this could be integrated or they would want to, or we would want to integrate that somehow, I don't know.
If it's a gift to charity, would we be planting trees on private property?
Or the city right away.
Some trees would be planted on private property?
We could regulate that. Are you? Oh, you're trying to get it onto the private property as a
Well,
income
I'm
tax
thinking
thing?
if they're strung in with a charitable organization, and they start planting trees on private property, then I think they may have a problem keeping their charitable status. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It might be too confusing for everybody, but
Well, I guess to the extent it was on public property, that's a different matter.
well, most of these, it depends on which one specifically. Some of them will be on private property. Some of them will be in the city right away.
Well, do they have money now? Some part of the 16,000, is it? Do they have some, do anyone know if they have?
I don't know. I have
No,
to
we're
think-
not. We're not familiar with the details of their program. Not
Okay.
yet.
And the other side of it, from what Dustin was saying, that the trees that they're planting now are smaller than what we would probably want to put in.
Probably
So,
based on, yeah, I'm sure just that based on cost. Dustin, could you share contact information that you have for Chase with us so that those of us that have questions for him can reach out? because I think some of these questions could lead to potential partnerships. Oh yeah, this is what I need is a cat walking across my desk.
It's okay. I've been waiting for mine to do the same.
You just
I,
needed to do a little.
I'm not gonna. I won't speak for Chase, but this is like a International Day of Service. This is kind of a one shot thing
Oh.
where they're just trying to raise money to plant trees once. They're not a
Oh.
nonprofit organization with nonprofit status where they're going to plant trees, in perpetuity. I think if we want to partner with somebody like that, we can work with Heartland Tree Alliance, which is our existing tree planting nonprofit in the metro. But Chase is
Okay.
just working on a project through his high school with just a couple other folks for just this one-time tree planting,
I see.
as far as I know.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. So it's a big goal and they maybe don't necessarily know how they're gonna attain it because they don't have the funding already scheduled. They probably got this article with hopes that they would attract some funding mechanisms. They need to get into the grant writing business if they're gonna need $16,000 for trees, but who knows? Somebody very well may just write them a check. Okay, that helps me understand that part of it better. So then is the city gonna pay for the trees that we're planting south of 119th?
No, if they raise enough funds, they will be purchasing the trees and the city won't be paying for any of them. The only
Okay,
thing the city will be aiding with is providing stakes to stake the tree. And those we already have. Just we have an existing
Yeah.
supply of T-posts, if you will.
Right.
And then we will mulch and water them and take care of them. So we will
Okay.
provide the maintenance through the Parks Department, but the actual cost of the tree and them to organize volunteers to help plant the trees, there
Okay.
won't be an expense to us, the city.
Okay. So having done this with the Rotary Club recently, I would think that, if you know of anybody that wants to make a donation and say, plant some trees in memory or in honor of somebody, that might be a great way for us to help facilitate some money coming into this. Yeah, that's a tall order. So how many trees did you want to plant there at 119th and Tomahawk?
I think total we're asking for 42.
Okay. Okay.
Do you want someone to call this young man and try to get more details and report back next time?
That would be
What-
great.
What details are you looking for, Thad?
Well, if they are, just what their work, how they're gonna, you say it's a one-shot deal, do they have individuals that are gonna go out and help them plant on a given day or a week or something, or?
Yes, they're going to organize the high school students to come out and help them plant.
And they're gonna be skilled in knowing how to plant a tree properly.
So when they're planting at our site, we will provide basically supervision as far as maintenance workers from the Parks Department. Myself, I will be there and we'll oversee the plantings.
Can that be us also?
Yeah, we're going to double as our Arbor Day event. So,
Okay.
as long as, we follow any COVID policy that's in place, it would be open to the public. I think it'd be best if, I guess an open invitation to the public was approved by the director before we openly invited everybody. Wouldn't you agree, Brian?
Yeah, I guess it's something we need to talk about is how popular we think it might be. Cause you'd have to make sure we have social distancing, at least as of right now.
Right.
Well, the way I'm hearing it, we have to make sure they've got the money to buy the trees to plant them that day. Do we not?
Right.
Yeah. So how much money is a tree? Do you know, Dustin? What is
About
their-
$60.
$60 per tree times 42. Okay. Well, $60 is not too big of a price tag for maybe people to make donations, so that's good. You said third or fourth weekend in April, so are you looking at maybe Saturday the 17th or Saturday the 24th, Dustin?
No, I didn't say third or fourth weekend. I said
what-
third or fourth week. If these are high school students coming to plant, I'm assuming they will be coming during the week, during the day.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So these are details that are all coming down
Sure.
the pipe. He's just not. I don't think they're quite there yet.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
And if they haven't done this before, this is a lot for high school kids to organize. So I'm sure.
Yeah, these two individuals have done some fundraising projects before, but I don't believe they've ever done a tree planting fundraising project before.
Okay.
But
Well,
I will say
Yeah.
they're pretty organized, and they're very easy to work with. So I'm hopeful that they'll raise, the money they need to. And if they don't quite get to their goal, then we probably just won't plant as many trees.
Sure.
Might
Okay.
this be the time of year, might this be to apply for a grant from the Johnson County Extension Board? They
Oh,
usually issue grants about this time. Probably not that much, but some.
sure. Well, if you know anything about that or have any experience with that, if you will shoot Dustin an email with some details,
Sure.
he can send that off to Chase and this other fella. I don't mind asking Dustin to just kind of be the conduit for questions. I don't want to overwhelm these kids with questions from a dozen strangers when they have a relationship already with Dustin, and I don't want to confuse the issue and have too many people speaking for the city of Leawood. I'd rather maybe we limit that to just Dustin, just to keep it simple. But this is exciting. Yeah, I'm thrilled that that something is happening like this. And really, even if we don't get 40 trees, 42 trees, if we get 21 trees, I think that would be thrilling to add to that path, that trail. I'm familiar with it, and it is hot and sunny in the summer along that path. So, and this, of course, will not interfere with baseball play on that field, right, Dustin? I mean, we're not gonna.
Unless there's a men's softball team that plans on playing out there, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Most of the programming we do there is for T-ball, and
Very good.
they could pretty much use the infield, and that's all they need.
Very, very good. I don't know how many sports are played out there, if it doubles as a soccer and a lacrosse or what, but I do know it's a nice big open space. But okay. Very exciting. Well, please keep us posted, Dustin, since we're scheduled to meet quarterly. Our next tree committee meeting is scheduled for if we stick to this quarterly and third Thursday is scheduled for April 15th. So that could absolutely be the week or the week before your big event could be happening. So if you, Dustin, or I'll be happy to pass the emails along. If you could communicate with us as you know more, so we can at least show up and help dig some holes or move some dirt or something for that Arbor Day event, whichever day or days they're going to be there. So
Of course, I'll share any information that I get with you as a committee as I get it. And John, if you have a specific grant that you know of that you're referring to from the county, if you know of something, let me know, and I can forward that information to these guys.
I'll see if that information is in some of our mailings. If not, I'll call the extension office tomorrow and get details on if it's there and how to apply for them.
Thank you.
You bet.
And I'm making a note to ask, because I've never thought to ask, if this committee has any kind of a budget or any little bit of a stipend that comes in from the city for projects as needed. Maybe maybe we've got a couple $100 we can throw at this, but I've not thought to ask that in the past because we've not had any expenses as a little committee. So,
Well, I would say as a subcommittee of SAB does have a budget that
Yeah.
is something that I think is a potential source, I guess. If you guys
there
want
you
to
go.
go that route.
Yes.
Good point. It's a good point.
They've got money that they frankly didn't spend this year because they didn't have their event. So
You make a gift to charity, you can earmark it for a purpose, can't you? Like trees in Leewood south of 119th Street.
I would think there's a lot of ways we could do this off the top of my head. You could write any of us can write checks to the Leewood Foundation, and then we could ask the Leewood Foundation to funnel that money to this project. The Leewood Foundation is a charity that does special projects around the city. So if any of you are wondering if you could make a tax deductible donation, I have to think that's a realistic way to do it right there. But I'm trying to think of, some other sources, but yeah. So Leewood Foundation is a real possibility for at least funneling it to get that tax credit. Okay. And I will check with Chuck in the SAB budget and let you know if there's money there as well.
Who's the chairman of the Leewood Foundation?
I believe Alice Hawk is her
Wow.
name. And then the mayor as well sits on that. I know I get a letter every year thanking me for my little donation, and they tell me what they're planning to do with it. They're planning to build a lovely washroom facility, restroom, whatever. Out shelter. What do you call that, Brian? Is it just a washroom? Outdoor.
Let's see, what could we call that? We could call that a comfort
Permanent.
station. Is that does comfort station sound good?
I like
we are
that
gonna, yeah,
better
we're
than-
working on that.
Yeah,
Better than outhouse.
so much better than
Yep.
outhouse, which is the word I was trying to avoid. Yes, so there is a plan to build. The Leewood Foundation is actually helping to fund that, and that will be not more than, I think, a quarter of a mile from this park we're talking about. So exciting things happen thanks to the Leewood Foundation. They've done a lot of work at the Lee Wolf Dog Park and other parks around the city over the years. So great things. If you're not familiar, I
Sure.
suspect some of you have sat on their board in the past. So
There's the logistics of having the money on a timely basis,
mhm,
buy the trees to have them there
mhm.
from St. Louis, I gather, in late April. Is that not right, Dustin?
Yeah, that would be right. I think that'd be the first thing that I would ask them is if there are, opportunities for donations to be made to them. When would they need them by? What is their due date? I'll get a hold of them and find out when that date is.
Great.
Does one of us need to contact the Leewood Foundation then? How does that work?
To ask them or just to,
No, to inform them about this.
I can do that.
Yeah, and then I guess, do we know, Dustin, do you know who, or does anyone know who is it that's going to be purchasing the trees from the Shawnee Mission School District? I mean, what is the title of that organization, I guess, because that's where any donation money would be going to. So do we know who that is?
That's another good question. I don't know how they're actually making the purchases. I'll find that info out.
There might be something like that. They might use the Shawnee Mission Foundation, Shawnee Mission School District Foundation as a funnel as well. So everybody's got one of those. Okay. Yeah.
In the,
Yeah, I was just trying to, over the years, like through the years, like the Leawood, we've had people in the past that had donated, like they wanted to donate a park bench
Uh-huh.
or trees. And in those cases, it was for the city of Leawood, the park department, basically. And so what they would do is write the check. It would go through the Leawood Foundation. The Leawood Foundation would reimburse the city for the expense, if that makes sense. And that's kind of how we've
Sure.
gone through, so that they get a tax deduction, I guess.
Right. Okay.
So actually, I guess if you're making a donation to a nonprofit that's planting trees, you're already a tax. I mean, you don't need to really go through the Leawood Foundation, I guess. Would you? I don't know.
I wouldn't think so. If there are
Yeah.
registered.
If they're going to provide a receipt, if they would provide the donor
Right.
with some type of a receipt that, and they are 501c3, and I don't know if they
Yeah.
are that organized. Maybe they aren't, but
Yeah, we're not going to be the first people to be asking this question of these students. Everybody, that's one of the, if you're asking for money, that's one of the first things people want to know. So, yeah. Okay, well, I will share information as I receive it about these questions. Great dialogue, thank you. It sounds like we have the opportunity to make sure some trees get planted in Leawood, and it'll be exciting to see where else in the county these kids end up planting trees. I did see this story picked up by the local news station the same week that it was in the Shawnee Mission Post. That's not unusual. They often take each other's leads. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of coverage they get the week that they do the plantings, and what kind of domino effect that has, so to speak. Who knows? So all good, all good. Okay. Well, that is all I had under old business and new business. And Dustin sort of wrapped his staff report that I was hoping for into that. Is there anything else that Brian or Dustin have to share for the better of the committee?
I have a couple things real quick. I'll just tell you about what's going on. So just to update, the Rotary Grove tree planting and work, we have ordered the individual tree tags that will hang on each of the 60 trees. It's going to be kind of an etched tag made by a company called Lark Label out of Wichita. It's going to have the Leawood Rotary Club's logo on it, and it's just going to say Rotary Leawood Grove Tree. That's what will be on each tree itself. And then what I looked at in the future, I found as an option, once these trees get kind of wider in diameter and have a thicker bark, they actually make a similar tag that has got some just short screws that have got a spring on the outside. And so the thought is what you're doing is you're just putting that screw into the bark of the tree, not going into the cambium below it. And then as the tree continues to grow, it gives some expansion for the tree without having that label get absorbed into the tree in the future. So that would be, several years down the road that we would even need to transfer that over. So we'll do right now in the interim is hang them off of like a sizable 2-inch, 3-inch limb or something. And then I'm also working with that company. We just started. They've got a graphic designer. That's someone that I can, I've got that language that you gave me, Lisa, a long time ago about why Rotary did this thing. But I also want to have in this interpretive panel, an example of what the tag looks like and explain how they're marked so that anyone looking at that would know as they're walking down the grove, what to look for. So, and I'd like to get some kind of graphics involved with it. I don't really have a price with it yet. The tags itself are about $800 for 60 of them. So, we'll work. We've got similar interpretive signs throughout that park, talking about wildlife or poison ivy or just, the pond, things like that. So this wouldn't be anything that we don't already have. So this is just a feature we'd like to highlight that's in the park. So that's what we're looking at. And that's kind of where I'm at with that. And then another just thing that we're starting to work on, and I just wanted to share it with you because I think it's kind of a cool idea, but we're in the process of designing this new park maintenance facility for the park maintenance staff. Where we'll be located, if you all don't know, is we'll be like 143rd Street in Overbrook, on the east side of Overbrook, just north of our Public Works Street Department. So we're way out south. And we're at the point now where we're getting ready to do a planning commission submission for preliminary approval for the design. And what we have to do for that is, of course, we have to have a landscape plan. And what we're looking at, and we have to comply with the Leawood Development Ordinance. We have to have the right number of street trees and all that jazz. But something that and I think Dustin's on board with this. We've talked a little bit about it, but I'd like to look at like an edible landscape, for example. So I'd like to do something like maybe we're incorporating some, herbs instead of maybe, traditional perennial plants. Maybe we look at some nut trees like Dustin had shown there, maybe pecan, of course, black walnut comes to mind, but even maybe some of our ornamental trees could be, cherry trees or apple trees or something like that. We could do, we're looking at maybe having a kind of an internal patio area between the administrative area going out to some of the shop spaces in the yard. And so if there's a patio area, we were thinking the architects, at least initially, they've got this idea of maybe we've got like some kind of a trellis wall that gives you privacy from 143rd Street. Well, that could be maybe some type of, I don't know, berries or grapes or something like that. So anyway, that's just an idea. And so we've got that, floating that out there. Now we can't have street trees that are nuisance fruit trees or anything, but but more internal, like maybe layers off in front of the building or something. We could look, because some of the, you guys, like blueberries are beautiful shrubs. I mean, they get good fall color and they've got the nice berries on them. So they're interesting. And it's something we could look at.
I love it.
That was.
The squirrels and rabbits will love you.
And the birds.
And the birds.
Yeah. But I thought, hey, if nothing else, maybe it's some like kind of like, we've gotten some good, some good feedback, when we've done these demonstration rain gardens. We've had a couple of them over the years in some of the parks, and we always get compliments about the herb garden at Gezer Park and also the grapes.
Mhm.
So, I thought, well, I know this isn't some place that the public will generally be coming to visit, but we could, promote it as something that, you could look at for ideas if you want to do some kind of edible landscape around your home or something. So just a thought.
Well,
And
I was
that's-
very
that's-
disappointed. Very good. I love it, Brian. I think it's exciting. I was very disappointed when Waterford cut down the apple tree that was next to the swimming pool area, because I used to go over there and pick apples off of it and they cooked the apples. But apparently some people thought it was a nuisance to have rotten apples on the ground for the squirrels. So anyway, so this is exciting. I think you could get some great publicity if you were to do this as well. And I suspect there's a lot of walking traffic along that section of 143rd, and I guess that's Kenneth. More and more houses being built down there. So
That's
yeah.
a good point. Well, we are, so we'll have the sidewalk on our side of 143rd Street, and then
Uh-huh.
the trail is planned to be on the west side of Kenneth or State Line there, and but we will have a sidewalk that goes down and along Overbrook and into our place, so it would certainly be walkable too. And yeah, whatever happens, maybe further east into Missouri, if that connectivity improves. Smart city, it could be. There's a lot of traffic that come to there, so
Very good.
that's it for me. Dustin.
I don't have anything to add other than if you have any young trees that you planted recently, especially evergreens, now's a great time to water.
Right.
It's been a very dry
Yeah.
winter, eh?
I have one question.
Uh-huh.
You'd never know that if you went to the dog park, though.
Oh,
No kidding.
yeah.
It's mud.
At our last meeting, Brian was going to check with the code enforcement people about whether they give when they give a citation to remove a street tree, do they also give the homeowner information about the new ordinance where telling them where planting is permitted?
And so I talked to Wade about that, and he said that yes, but it's always recommended that I guess I stay on top of it and remind them about that. But they would do that, and the more I think that I remind them about it, the more often they'll do it. So, yeah.
Couldn't it just be a standard letter that, or instruction sheet or information sheet that goes with it?
Yeah, I guess you're right. That could be.
Yeah.
I just figure when usually what they're doing is they're I know they mail them a notice, but they always make contact with them too. I think they talk on the phone at some point. So, but yeah, I mean, I could make some kind of form letter that goes with it.
Yeah.
To go insert in their standard letter.
Yeah. Because I've seen a couple of trees that have been planted since that ordinance that are not in the right place.
As have I, unfortunately.
Yeah, but was
Yeah.
it the city? Was it a result of the city sending them a notice though, or?
Oh, no, I think it's just homeowners doing what they want to do.
Yeah, but if I got a notice and I didn't want to use Suburban to plant, I considered myself an expert in planting a tree, I might go buy one and look around me and say, well, this is where the trees have always been, so I'm going to put one right back there.
Mm-hmm.
And who told me that I was supposed to get a permit to do that?
Yeah, I had a call. I did have a phone call from. It was golly, what one? What's next to Greenbrier, you guys? What's in that vicinity that I think has some along state line there? Is there one that?
Leawood South and the Enclave at Cedar Point and Waterford and Wilshire Place. That's all surrounding Greenbrier.
Okay.
That's where I live.
I was thinking, is there one that starts with a V by chance? No.
No. Greenbrier is surrounded by Leawood South to the north, the Enclave at Cedar Point to the east, Wilshire Place to the south, and Waterford sort of to the west.
Yeah, it must have been Greenbrier then. I was thinking for some reason I thought it was another, but anyway, someone called me about they're wanting to replace some trees along, I believe it was state line, and they wanted to know if they needed to have if they needed to file like a landscape plan with us. And I said, well, to start with, if you're just replacing trees, what you need to do is go through the process of getting a right-of-way permit with Public Works. And I referred them over to our right-of-way permit desk. So I haven't heard anything more than that. And usually when they're doing some kind of a tree planting, if it's involving street trees, they usually contact either me. It's most often me. I don't know, Dustin, if you've gotten any calls, but usually they get a hold of me to make sure that everything is complying with the ordinance. So,
yeah, if it was along state line road, if it was actually along state line road, it might have been a commercial, development, or Leawood South or Royce. Royce touches state line road, and then you get up to Hunter's Ridge, and then you get to Hallbrook.
Huh. Well,
I think.
I'll
Maybe
look through my
Pembroke,
notes because I look through my voicemails, but I talked to it was a lady that called me and she was representing the home association. Like she was an officer and
yeah.
was curious about it. Maybe it was Greenbrier.
Yeah, but they don't touch state line road.
Okay, then yeah. Well, that's why I was thinking it's just not coming to me which HOA it was, darn it.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness somebody wanted to plant trees. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. Well, anybody else have anything before we close, before we adjourn this informative, helpful meeting? And you were able to get all who attended, Brian? off
I
those
did.
lists?
Yep.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good.
Yep.
Okay, well, if I don't, not hearing any or seeing any other raised hands on my Zoom, I will encourage us to adjourn. It's almost 5:30, so thank you for your time and stay safe, stay well, and I'll be sending out an email after I get some answers to some of these questions for us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Take
you.
care, all.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Okay.
I'll chase that down, Dustin. And nice throw pillows, Thad.